There you
Okay,
go.
now there we go. Perfect. Hey gang, Kevin here, Life22, and we are doing it's been a little past our 6 month markup with Kenny Polcari from is it Case Capital?
Slatestone Wealth,
Slatestone Wealth.
chief market strategist at Slatestone Wealth. Case Capital does exist. It is my an LLC that I have, but chief my current role, my formal role is chief market strategist at Slatestone Wealth.
Okay. And we told Kenny we were gonna do a 6 month follow-up. We've gone a little past that 6 month mark, but hey, the market's had a lot to change and we wanted to catch everything before everyone's year ended, right?
Yeah. The markets had quite a ride this year.
Yeah, I was gonna say AI is like leading the charge. I think it was leading the charge when we spoke last.
AI is leading the charge. AI will continue to lead the charge. I think that story is going to continue to evolve. I think the kind of the focus next year is going to be on quantum computing and the role that that's going to start to play in AI, and then how more dramatically the world is going to change. Look, from when they introduced ChatGPT a year ago in December to what it does today to where it is today, along with Genesis and Perplexity and all the rest of them, it's quite amazing actually. And if people out there use any of these services, it's interesting that after a while, I hate to say it because it sounds almost weird, but it gets to know who you are. It gets to understand the way you talk, the way you write. It gets to understand the intonation in your voice. And I'll tell you why I do that, because I use ChatGPT to help me kind of clarify things when I'm not sure I said it right, whatever. And it ChatGPT now, when I log in the morning, it says to me, "Good morning, KP. How are you?" Like, it starts to talk to me, right? So last week I decided I'm going to try this Gemini, because Mark Benioff, the chairman of Salesforce, came out about 2 weeks ago and he said there was absolutely no question about it. Gemini blows everything else out of the water. Blah blah blah. I'm not using nothing but Gemini. I go, you know what? Let me just try Gemini. So I tried Gemini. I didn't like it at all. The answers were stilted. They weren't me. It didn't sound like me. It sounded very encyclopedic. And I thought to myself, okay, I, I, I don't want it to sound that way. I don't want to use that. That's not kind of the response I want. And so I'm not using it. But what I realize is, I wonder if I did use it day in and day out, and I showed it my stuff, and I had it, read some of my writings and all that stuff, that it might become like ChatGPT, where it gets to know you and it gets to know your tone and your voice and the way you talk. It's eerie the way that happens, quite honestly. But I
Well,
think that's going to be the focus next year. I think it's going to be on how quantum computing is going to change the agentic AI space, and everyone should pay attention. I think cybersecurity is going to continue to be a hot topic next year, because as we go further and further down this road, security is going to become more and more and more important.
right, and the thing about the AI, it's almost like we're getting a rebirth of like the dot-com bubble.
Well, yes and no. And here's what I'll tell you, because people constantly ask me that. Do I think we're in this bubble with AI or not? I don't think so. And here's the problem. I think valuations are stretched. And I've been saying that for a while in my note. If you've been reading my note, I've been
Oh yeah.
saying it for a while, that I was expecting to pull back. Valuations are stretched. Yet I don't think we're in a bubble. And here's why. Because when the bubble happened in 1999, 2000, over the dot-com thing, the internet was brand new, and all these companies that went public, that put .com next to their name, that weren't producing real products. They had no revenues, they had no history, they had no nothing, but they were the ones getting bid up, because there was this frenzy around the internet. Oh my God, it was going to change the world. And while it has changed the world, a lot of those companies that no longer exist today, really had nothing to, they had no product, they had nothing, they had no history, they had no sales, they had no growth projections, they weren't making any money. And so that was a bubble. When I think about today, and I think about Nvidia or Palantir or Cloudflare or any of the other ones, AMD, any of the other ones that are out there, CoreWeave.
No, they're the ones behind the AI.
Correct. Those are all infrastructure names. That now doesn't mean that I think some of their valuations are stretched, but I don't think it's a bubble at all, because they are real companies with real products, with real revenues, with real forecasts, with real sales growth, unlike what it was in 2000. So I'm in the camp that this is nothing like what it was in 2000. So I'm not in the bubble camp.
and people have kind of learned their lesson because most of the guys that are in this game are have went through the dot-com bubble, so they know what to kind of look for. They know what solid names to put numbers
Well,
to invest money in.
that's true, but there is a whole generation of people that never went, that didn't go through the dot-com bubble,
Right.
are in the markets today. They graduated in, 2007 or 8 or 10, 2010 or 11. So they were just born. They were very young during the dot-com bubble, so they weren't part of it. And
I
so,
was like, I was just gonna throw this out there, Kenny. I was like 10, 11 years old using
okay,
eBay.
right. So I hear you, but you weren't in the dot-com bubble, right? You were 10, you might have been using eBay, but you weren't trading, you weren't managing money, you weren't doing all that stuff. I was 22 years old when the dot-com bubble happened. I was working on Wall Street. I was working on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Now, what's interesting was, remember, all those dot-com names, none of them ever qualified to come listed and trade on the New York Stock Exchange because they never met the requirements. There were very strict requirements to list on the New York Stock Exchange. So all those stocks ended up going to NASDAQ. And so I didn't trade NASDAQ. So while I could see the frenzy during the day and listen to people and all that stuff, I wasn't on the floor of the exchange in the middle of it. Right. I wasn't
Right.
in the middle because we couldn't trade it. The only reason I was in the middle of it is I would hear the people around me talking about, oh my God, they did this, they did that. You'd get into a cab driver and there'd be cab drivers talking about all the money they made trading.coms. I'm going, okay, this is the end. Because when cab drivers start telling you, when they start becoming your financial advisor, when you get in the cab at 11 o'clock at night, that's a problem.
See, and I think we talked about this on the last show, was where we like the crypto frenzy, right? There's a ton of people that bought into crypto, and I haven't seen crypto plummet. And I still haven't bought any crypto. And I think you said what, don't invest more than what,
I,
5%, 10%?
yeah, I think you have to look at yourself, but I would 5% max. My portfolio, it's about a 2.5% weighting in my portfolio. And it's both Bitcoin and Ether. I haven't bought Solana and all the other ones down the list,
The
XRP.
Dogecoin.
Yeah, I bought none of them. The money that I have in the crypto space is between Bitcoin and Ethereum, and together it doesn't represent more than 2.5% of my total portfolio. And no,
Right.
I'm not going to let it get big. Look, I'm not 30 years old, right? I'm 65 years old, so I have to be a little bit more kind of strategic and cautious on how much risk I really want to take. If I were younger, maybe that number might be 5 or 8%, right? There are some people that have 100% of their money in Bitcoin, but they're also 20 years old. Not that I'm suggesting that that's right either, because I don't think that's right either. But
Right.
you have to, once again, you have to kind of look at who you are and where you are in not only the life cycle, but kind of the lifespan, right? And so while I own it, I measure it and keep it at a very, very close, small percentage of my total portfolio.
Sure, sure, sure. And then and I don't blame you because it's still there and new and it's
Correct.
but
Listen,
it's
Bitcoin is down 36% from just a month and a half ago. It was trading $125,000. It's now trading at 90. That's a 30% downsweep, right? Now, I don't, my average cost is below that anyway, so I'm still making money less than I was a month ago in that particular asset, but I'm still up on the asset, right? But yet I'm down 30% off the recent highs.
right. And just like anything, right? What's the everything the scientific rationale to most things is everything tries to reach equilibrium, right? Like air
Correct.
pressure, everything. So
Right.
eventually you get these things that are just brand new and they start to spike up and then they level out.
They will
But
level out. I think the story for Bitcoin and Ethereum, I think that story is also like AI, very much in its infancy. And so,
we're just at like a plateau or we're
yeah. So I think that's going to be a continuing, ongoing story.
right, right, right. Okay. So and then with so the one thing that I also always think about is that Edward Norton line from um from Fight Club. Given a long enough time span, the life expectancy of everything drops to zero.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, so yeah, so everything's trying to reach equilibrium, and at the end of the day, though, there's still a beginning and an end, right?
Yeah. Well,
The
I
alpha and
suppose.
the omega.
Yeah, yeah. The alpha and the omega. Yeah, isn't that the damn truth? But
Yeah,
anyway, so I think all those themes, I think they remain very exciting. I think they're exciting going into the new year. I don't think some of this recent volatility should cause you to change your mindset as a long-term investor. I think you need to take advantage of the volatility. You shouldn't use it to scare you. So for instance, if you do your homework as a long-term investor and you decide you're going to do your due diligence and you did all your homework and you're buying Apple or Amazon or Nvidia, if you bought it for a reason and it goes down in value, you have to ask yourself, okay, A, was I was my analysis incorrect? That'd be the first thing I'd ask. If it isn't incorrect, you have to say, did the fundamental reason I bought it change? If that hasn't changed and the stock is down in value, then it's just part of the cycle. So I would use that retreat in the price of stock as an opportunity to add more and bring your cost basis lower, right? If the story now changes after I bought it, now you say, oh my God, the stock's getting killed. And here's what happened. What the sales we thought were going to happen are not going to happen, and here's why. That changes the fundamental story. So then you have to make another decision. Do you stick with it? Is that story, can they get out of that now negative story or not? And that's when you're going to make a decision to sell it or not.
Right. I got one of those from the what was it, the AMC bubble, right?
Yeah,
Like they had that, they were doing that the special stock pricing, and they were supposed to reissue
yeah,
stocks and
yeah.
had to go to a court proceeding, and the court proceeding went how we wanted it to go, but it didn't hit the market like we expected it to. And then so pretty much, I had like $500 in it. So, $500 into the AMC wasn't a ton, but did it turn into 1,600 or 2,500? No, it turned into like $150. And it was like,
Yeah.
well, hey, so it's, to me, it's like, why sell it? I'll wait till I'm ready to take a loss unless it turns around, because I also don't see AMC going anywhere.
Right. Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't see AMC is not a stock that I own. It's not a stock that I follow. So therefore,
yeah,
I don't have an opinion on it. But you have to make your own opinion on it, right? You have to do your homework. You have to decide at what pain, where's your pain threshold,
right.
and is it really worth it? And can you actually use if it's a loss? Can you actually take advantage of the loss and pair it off against the gain if you want to trim somewhere else? Then you have to look at that as well. Do that kind of tax loss harvesting at the end of the year, where you'll take advantage of that loss to offset another gain.
Right. For sure, for sure. That's definitely a big part of it too. It's one of the reasons but I also keep most of that stuff in what you call the Mad Money account.
The Mad
Uh,
Money account. That's right.
right,
And you can have a Mad Money account. You can have a long-term trading account. They're two very different accounts, and their objectives should be very different. Right? Your
right,
Mad Money account is just that. It's mad money. It's money that you want to screw around with. And if you lose it, you have to understand that the money in the Mad Money account, if you lose it,
you have to
you're
be
okay with
willing.
that. It's not going to change the rest of your life. If that's not the case, then you should adjust the amount of money in your Mad Money account.
Right, right. Yeah, don't make decisions that you're not willing to live with the
Correct.
consequences. Right,
Correct. And if the consequences cause you to lose all your money in that account, then that's the way it is. You have to kind of know that going in. In your long-term investment account, you should be much more strategic. You should make sure that it's much more well balanced. Now, listen, someone your age, and you're 20 years younger than me, you can lean a little bit more into risk and go a little bit further out in the scale than I would, because you have time on your side and you're still in your best earning years, and so you have the ability to kind of take on that risk. So as you get further down the line, you realize suddenly that you can see the end, and you need to be much more cautious.
right, right. For sure, for sure. Yeah, no. And I think that's what kind of we went through the basics last time with our viewers, just to kind of go through and see what people, you know, just the differences between the Mad Money account and, just a lot of those different things. But it's one of those, like, the market's ever changing, and so the base is for a lot of these people that might be watching my show aren't really, you know, they appreciate the advice that you can give, but at the same time, they're probably not day trading and playing in the Mad Money account. And people give them, they're taking tips from their taxi driver or their Uber driver now. You know,
Correct. But I have to tell you something. During 1999, 2000, people were taking tips from people they didn't even know, people they met at the bar, people who said, I made X amount of dollars on, pets.com today. Oh my God, it was the greatest thing in the world. And people were taking tips like that because it was that frenzied, right?
right,
It was that frenzied. I was in New York City. I was right downtown on Wall Street. I was always around places where there were traders and people and young people and older people. So it was constantly around me. But yet people were just taking. It's funny. People were just taking
tips from anybody.
advice. Yeah, from anybody. It was crazy.
Right. Well, that's just like trying to guess on a football pool, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a lot of times it's the people that win those what is it, the March Madness pools are
Yep.
always like the housewife who well, I really like that name, the Wizards, or you know what I mean? They
Yeah.
pick names
Right.
that they like.
Right. Right.
And and it's that a lot of times those are the people that win because there is no, you know,
They're not
with
overthinking it. They're not
right.
overthinking it. Right.
They're just guessing like the rest of us, like and because we don't know either. Like you can follow the market and see trends, and you can pick things that are stable and gonna slow growth your bet account. But if you want to take that Mad Money account and go stake it all on the Buffalo Bills to win the Super Bowl, which I think
You could do that. You could certainly do that. I'm not saying it's the smartest thing to do, but you could certainly do it.
right, right, right. There's a lot of correlations you can draw between sports gambling and the stock market. It's just
Yeah.
one used to not be legal.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. And now, not only is it sports betting, but now there's the poly markets. You can bet almost on anything you want in the poly markets, right? I mean, you can find the most obscure things and make a bet on it. It's crazy to me, but
I wanted to do that back during 20 the I think it was the 2016 2020 election. It was during the 2020 election. I was like, man, you know what? These elections are coming up. And I always make jokes with my kids. We'd go to jujitsu tournaments,
yeah.
and I'm always the dad that's on the sideline coaching like somebody else's kid because I kind of know most of the kid
Yeah.
terminology for
Yeah.
double leg takedowns and stuff. And I'm looking at some of the other dads, and I'm like, "Is this your kid? This kid in the orange belt over here? Is this you? Yeah, this is yours. All right, little Jim. Uh, Go talk to Richie. He's taking dollar bets over there. And because betting on little kids, it's like it's a dollar, man, and it's like
I hear you. I hear you, but it is kind of nuts where we've come from, right? But look, it's all about the excitement around it. I get it, but when you come to investing, you come to kind of your long-term portfolio. You really shouldn't be guessing. You should be doing your homework. Either you're doing it yourself, you're doing it with an advisor, you're doing it in an investing club, something where people are doing real due diligence and they understand the story on
and
why
being more
they're
serious
buying.
about it than a hobby,
Hundred
right?
percent.
Yeah, because there's a lot of
100%.
these are people's lives at stake, right? They are their retirement fund. They're
For sure. Absolutely. And then now we're coming to the end of 25 certainly, and we've had a great year. The S&P's up at the moment 22%. The S&P's up 16%, the Nasdaq's up 22. The Russell's up 13%, the Dow's up nearly 12%. The Mag 7 is up 25%, but you look underneath the hood there, you see, aerospace and defense up 32%. You see different sectors are, plus or minus, either outperforming the market or not. But as we move into 2026, here's what you have to pay attention to because it's a midterm election year. All election years tend to be more volatile than not because there's a lot at stake. Presidential elections are more so than midterms, but in this case, this year, the whole House is up for grabs, right? All
right.
435 seats are up for grabs, so there's going to be lots of commotion around the House and who jumps in the race and who's out of the race and what those policies look like. Are they far left? Are they middle of the road? Are they far right? Kind of who's rising to the top. And we've already seen what's happened in places like New York City and Portland in terms of far left candidates being elected. And so I think next year has the opportunity to create some early volatility in the markets as we start to see, what names are coming to the surface and who they represent if they're not the people that we already know, if there's these new names. And so I think the first half of the year is going to tend to be a little bit more volatile, which doesn't mean, again, in your long-term account that you should get nervous or blow it out. You should make sure that you're probably weighted and diversified, right? I'm going to tend to be a little bit more cautious in 2026. New money that I add is going to go to value names. It's going to go to healthcare. It's going to go to financials, right? I'm not going to chase tech. I own tech. I participate if it goes higher. I'm participating, but I'm not chasing it because I do think that tech is going to see a drawdown, and when it does, then I'll put more money. But until then, I'm looking at other sectors, and like consumer staples has underperformed the whole year. In fact, I think it's slightly negative on the year. Let me just look what it is right now. Yeah, it's down less than 1%. So, but it's been negative the whole year. That is by far the worst performing sector. But yet, I think in a volatile, kind of anxious driven year that I think we're going to see in 26, Consumer staple names are big, boring names, but they're good dividend payers, and they're things that you need, right? You need toilet paper, you need toothpaste, you need soap, you need stuff that you need are consumer staples, right? The discretionary stuff, I think, is the stuff that's going to underperform next year because people are going to become more cautious.
Because they're tighter. This is
Especially if, yeah, especially if the economy starts to really slow, which I'm still not sure I believe the economy is slowing as much as they want us to believe it is.
right. No, and so there is, so like you mentioned, there is a volatile. It is politics play a large role in this, right?
100%.
And we just talked about like everything reaches equilibrium, right? But you do have that ebb and flow, right? That swing, the momentum that pushes it this way, it takes the same momentum to push it back, and you have that inverse, right? Just like a pendulum. So everything swung left during 2020. People didn't like it. They swung hard right,
Right.
and now all of a sudden they're getting hard right, but it's one of
They're
those
going to
like
try to come back to the middle for sure,
they're going to
right?
come back to the middle. Are they going to overcorrect?
Well, that's all right. The
That's
pendulum always swings too far left and too far right until it tries to come back to the middle. So, we could see it overcorrect a little bit, which is why I'm saying I think if it overcorrects, that's when you might see a little bit more of the far left candidates kind of taking the spotlight. Look, Jasmine Crockett just announced that she's running for the Senate seat in Texas. In my opinion, she's way far left. She's like AOC. She's like Mandami. She's like the woman out in Portland. I think and so to me, that's the first signal of what we're going to see next year in the 26 midterm election. And
and
listen,
just
don't
like
forget that the party in control, the party in the White House, typically loses in the midterm elections. Right? So it's
sure.
expected that the Democrats are going to take back the House in November. The Republicans will maintain control of the Senate. The president will still be a Republican. So therefore, what are we going to have? We're going to have gridlock. You know what the market loves? Gridlock. You want to know why? Because nothing really gets done. You can't go too far left and you can't go too far right. Most everything
Right.
that gets done has to get done in the middle, and the market's okay with that.
Just like the real estate market, you look at New York City, you have investors pulling out left and right
Correct.
because they anticipated Mandami winning. He
Correct.
won, and they're
Yep.
pulling because they don't
And they
want to be
are,
part.
and so at some point, prices are going to start to go down because people are going to want to get out. It could create a long-term opportunity. But here's the thing that Mandami wants to do. Mandami is now, it's starting with people that want to sell buildings, not individual apartments. But landlords that want to sell buildings, he's proposing that they have to offer the sale of the building to the city first before they put it out on the public market, because the city wants the right of first refusal to buy that piece of property. But what the argument is that the city's going to drag their feet, right? You want to sell this apartment building, you say, fuck it, I want to sell it. And
Right.
so and so now you have to go to the city and say, okay, I'm selling this apartment building. It's, whatever, $20 million. And the city says, okay. And they just take their time, and a week goes by, and a month goes by, and 2 months goes by. And you can't sell in the public market because he's proposing that the city has to make the first decision. And if
And
the
that's
city drags their feet for months at a time,
they're
you're
gonna
potentially going to lose out.
you're gonna be you could be bankrupt. I mean, that's
Correct.
smaller
Correct.
investors are not going to get into the market like that.
100%. Just wait till it starts happening with individual apartment units. When the city says you have to offer it to the city first before you can put it in the public market. Just wait
Right.
till that starts to happen in New York.
Now you're saying so I don't know 100% about the market in New York. Like when somebody sells like you don't sell an apartment, it's titled to the property owner, right? Or do they have deeds on apartments
No, yeah, of
like
course they do.
condominiums?
Yeah, you can buy an individual apartment. My daughter owns an apartment in Manhattan,
Okay.
right?
That's when people say they own an apartment, that's their home, so I just assume they're just referring to renting a place.
No, they're not renting it. They own it, right? There are
Okay.
certain rentals in New York, but Mike, there are plenty of people that own apartments in New York.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. So you just
um,
structure the deed so that you own a portion of the building and you
You
pay like
own
an
you
HOA.
own the apartment in the building. Yeah, you
Right.
own the apartment in the building. That's it. You don't own the building. You don't own the common space. You own just the apartment in the building, right?
And then there's usually what, like an umbrella, like an HOA or something that manages
Well,
building maintenance.
you have a monthly maintenance fee that you pay into that supports the rest of the building,
Right.
right?
The roof, the heating
Yeah, the
structure,
roof, the common areas, all that stuff.
keeping up
Um,
with building code, paying the property taxes.
no, the property taxes. Well, the building will pay the taxes on its own building.
You pay your share.
You have to pay your own taxes on your apartment, right?
Right.
So
Oh, okay.
that's all built into well, in condos, it's actually a separate tax bill that you pay. In a co-op, it's built into the monthly maintenance fee.
Okay. See, something I learned. I like. I usually
Yeah,
I'm.
but no,
I fly
yeah,
solo.
but in Manhattan, no, absolutely that you buy and own in Manhattan. You can also rent in Manhattan, but you buy and own, right?
Sure.
And now I can't wait till he starts saying to individuals, no, you have to give us the right of first refusal because what he's trying to do is he's trying to create housing for everybody, right? That's
Right.
what he wants to
So,
do. No more, no
so why
more
doesn't he
home
apply this to the
control.
rental market? You want to go rent your apartment out while you're, why wouldn't you? Oh, I'm sorry. You have to give us the option to place a tenant there for your price
Well,
first.
that hasn't come out yet, but I
I
wouldn't be
know, but it's
surprised.
coming.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's going to be the next thing that comes out. Is that the city's going to go in and say we have the right of first refusal to rent the apartment,
Right.
right?
And you're going to get some grub in there that doesn't care.
Well,
That doesn't.
if I want to rent my apartment for $5,000 a month and the city says we'll pay you three, I could say no, right? I'm not going to rent it for three. If you want to pay five, you can have it. But
Right.
that's going to be that. That's why I think that's going to be a little bit more. It's really the sale of the apartment building. I think that's going to show the first signs of stress because if you have to offer it to the city first and the city just drags their feet, weeks go by, months go by, and you can't sell it anywhere else, and the market's getting hit, the value of your property is just going lower, and you can't control it because he's not going to let you, or
Right.
at least that's what the conversation is now. Do I think do I think the city council is going to go along with that and say, yeah, that's a good idea? I don't know. The city council might, but if they do, I suspect there's going to be a massive backlash from
Between
one hundred percent.
you're talking about residents, investors, taking it right to the courts. I mean, are we?
Well, take it to the courts. Take it to Albany, up to the state, right? Because remember, next year is Kathy Hochul's uh,
It is.
she's up for reelection, right? So Kathy Hochul's going to try to maintain this fine line. How far left is she going to go? How far is she going to support Mandami? Is she going to tell him back off? Go slow. You're going too much. I don't know. We're going to see how that unfolds. But what I'm
Yeah.
saying is, this is all this is going to create the volatility that I think we're going to see in the early part of the year because it's going to happen in every state, right? It's not. I mean, that's not going to happen in every state, but
I'm
the election is happening in every state,
sure, sure. And in
right?
New York, I'm very hopeful in New York, but that's how I am every year. And what ends up happening with something like this, it's like being a Buffalo Bills fan, right? You're very hopeful. You look like you're going to pull it off right at the final moment, and then you squeak by with a loss, and you're just like, man, where's our
Right.
people?
But life in New York where you live is very different than life in New York in the city.
Oh, sure, sure. And
You know what I
that's
mean?
but they usually control a lot of the voting base of New York.
That's right. That's right.
And so, like, somebody like me who might lean more Lee Stefanik, rather than Kathy. And
Yeah.
Kathy's sitting there. It's Kathy Hochul is New York's version of Kamala Harris in terms of that she is you fail up on the
Yeah.
Democrat side. So a lot of times somebody like her is going to fail in the upward position,
Yes.
landing herself back into a New York seat the same way she landed herself into prominence. And
I
then
hear you. I
uh,
hear
a,
you.
a friend of mine who has moved himself up in the legal system once told me when he was my lawyer, uh, pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered, and that's
Yeah.
what happened to Andrew Cuomo. Like he
Yeah.
went along and he thought he was untouchable, and he was take, and he took too many of the wrong, state trooper
Yeah.
butt grabs, and he failed his way
I
right
hear
out.
you. Yeah, I hear you. I think after what just happened, I think his political days are over. I don't think there's anything left for him.
I never wanted. I mean, I never wanted him to win so bad.
Right. I hear you. I hear you. But I will say, that Mandami, say it for what it is, he put on an outstanding social media campaign.
He did.
Instagram, TikTok, all that shit. He appealed to the young class and he got them off their feet and out into the fucking voting booths. He did
Oh
it.
yeah,
The
yeah.
part that I thought was amazing was that the weekend before, the Saturday night before the election on Tuesday, he put out an Instagram video or a Twitter video. I forget where it was. It was about him traveling around the city at midnight, going to all these different nightclubs, right?
Really.
And rallying the troops of all these young people. And the funniest one that I saw was he went to a gay nightclub in Brooklyn. Now, here is a Muslim man who's anti-gay, right? Because you know
Right.
what they do to gay people in Muslim countries? They
Uh,
kill them. They
right.
don't support them. They kill them. And
Right.
here he is in this gay club in Brooklyn, and they were fawning over this guy, fawning over him. And
Right.
they were cheering him on, and he kept saying, come out and vote, come out and vote. And I'm saying to myself, I'm looking at the video, I'm going, do these kids even understand what would happen to them if they lived in the country that he left?
I mean, tell them to
It's
go spend a
crazy.
week in go spend a week in Dearborn. Like
It's crazy to me.
you might not walk down safely through the streets in Dearborn, Michigan.
It is absolutely crazy to me. But he created this aura around himself. That
Charisma has a hell of a way
I
of
got to
doing
tell
that.
you, it was nuts stuff. And I'm watching it, and I'm saying, you have to give him credit, whether it was him, whether it was his media team, whoever it was. They were very successful in creating a social media campaign that blew the roof off the place. And
Right.
it's because he won by a landslide, and it was
But young
all that
people
younger set that voted for him
and younger people don't like there is a disconnect there because like
hugely.
guys like me, I'm following tons of politics. I'm trying. I don't follow the market like you do, but I follow politics every day, and so
Yeah,
I've got a good thumb on the pulse.
yeah.
And there's a lot of people that don't. And so all you do is you put out a marketing campaign where he goes out and says, "See, he came out and he danced with us, and we're
Right.
gay, and blah blah blah, and the Republicans are wrong. He's not
100%. 100%. It was crazy to me when I saw that video. I thought to
and
myself, and it was a gay club, so they were mostly men, right? Versus
right,
right, mostly men. And they had the camera, and the guys were dancing, and they were cheering him, and they were rah rah. And I'm sitting there looking at this video, and I'm going, oh my god! Like these people have no idea what they're doing. None.
right, right. And then it turns the issue is, and I don't think they see this, and it might not happen with Mondami particularly, but at a certain point, the door shuts on the boardroom in the movie Goldfinger.
Yeah,
And that's when Goldfinger steps out of the room and the gas starts. You know what
yeah,
I mean? There's a certain point that
yeah,
you turn on the people that put you there. That's how
yeah,
Stalin ended up in power.
yeah,
Hitler, what isn't
yeah.
uh, Lenin got Lenin got poisoned. You know what I mean? Like
Oh
that
yeah,
was
no, 100%. Which is why I have to be honest. Look, I spent 40 years in New York City, right? I worked there. I lived there. I hung out there. I had lots of friends there. I got to tell you, when I go back now for business and whatever, I go in. I'm there for a couple of days. I'm like, get me out because I don't like what I see. I don't like how I feel. I don't like going down in the subways. I don't like walking on the streets. Here's the other thing. He's now going to, unlike Adams, who swept up, homeless 10 cities on the streets. He came out yesterday. He says he's not disrupting. If they want to build 10 cities on the streets of Manhattan, let them build it. And he's got no interest in taking them off the streets, trying to get them into shelter. No, because there's dignity in living in your tent structure in the middle of Manhattan. If that's where you want to live, then that's where you want to live. And he came out. It was a big story in the New York Post yesterday where he said he's not going to do it. He's not going to disrupt the 10 cities. It's going to look like LA or San Francisco, if you can imagine.
what was that? I think it's going to look more like that Marvel movie where Jeff Goldblum runs the land of the lost.
It's crazy to me. And if I have to fly to New York and go there and walk through that and be there, guess what? Why do I have to go? I
Oh,
can do
right,
everything via Zoom. I don't have to go to New York. I don't
right,
have to pay $600 a night to stay in a Holiday Inn Garden Inn because that's what they cost,
right.
right? If you want to go to a Holiday Inn, it's $600 a night by the time they add in all the taxes. It's
Oh, bed
ridiculous.
tax. Oh yeah, the bed tax. It was
It's
just another
ridiculous.
money
It's
grab.
ridiculous. You know, um, and to get there, and they got the congestion tax now in the city. You drive in you're in a cab or whatever, they get hit with another tax. It's crazy. So I got to tell you, if they start building 10 cities around New York City, everywhere you walk, why would I go? I
Welcome
have
to
no
District
interest.
9.
I have no interest in going.
Right. My sister she had her bachelorette party in Breckenridge, Colorado. And we went up there and I'd never been that far west and me and the missus we went out there and we actually got engaged out there just because it was beautiful.
Yeah,
And it had nothing to do with like we get into downtown Denver when we arrive, right? And then we head out to Breckenridge to meet my sister.
yeah,
But it's just like, man, you go there and like that's what New York City is going to look like because downtown Denver is It is terrible. And
I
if
haven't
if
been to Denver. I haven't been to Denver in a long time, so I don't know. But I know LA,
it's
I know San Fran, I know Santa Monica, and if New York City is going to start to look like that, I got news for you. Like, why am I going?
I
I'm
haven't been in
going
New
to
York City
spend
since
good money and stay. Like, why? Doesn't make
right,
sense to me.
right. Yeah, you could go anywhere else.
You
Right.
can go to 100 other places, right?
Right.
And
So
and
yeah, no,
you
it's
know, and if I have business in New York, I can certainly do it on Zoom.
right.
If I have to be on television in New York, I can certainly do it on at a local studio here, like I do. Um, yeah, so it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. But this is going to add to some of the volatility I think that we're going to see in the markets next year, at least in the first part of the year. I think it starts to as we get closer into the summer, and then you start to see the candidates and who they are, and you get a better sense of how it's going to play out. Understanding that expect the Democrats to retake the House, and if that's the case, then we'll have a gridlock. Because the Republicans are not expected to give up the Senate, so the market will be okay with that, right?
Right.
Uh,
Hey,
but
that's
I
what I want out of my government. I at the highest level, I want
right,
no movement. I
right,
want it's like looking into the solar system. Like there's not major changes in the galaxy,
right,
right? Because if you had the changes that you have in your household
yeah,
in the galaxy,
yeah,
like that's earth shattering. That'll destroy the planet that you live on, And so like the slower you can move the highest points,
yeah,
that's also how I want my power distributed, but that doesn't happen.
yeah. But
So
anyway, okay, what else?
well, if New York City's turning into a shithole, we'll be glad to host you here, Kenny. Anytime you want to come visit New York and you don't want to go to the city, in the spring or summer we will show you, or even it's pretty in the fall too. So
Yeah, listen, they were talking about housing prices once again in Connecticut are going through the roof. Housing prices in Westchester County, New York, are going through the roof because people are saying, I don't want to stay here. I don't want to do this.
that's yeah. My mom lives in New Milford. That's uh,
Yeah.
that's where the that's where my mom and her wife live, and we just came from there
And I think
for
that
Thanksgiving.
housing prices down here in Florida once again are going to start to move higher again because you can already see it, right? People once again are starting to look at to Florida, Tennessee, Texas as alternative places to live and work.
Yeah. Yeah, no, me and the missus, we've been looking, the 10-year plan is still possibly move. We've been kind of thinking about Tampa.
Yeah.
It's one of those like, hey, if you're in the HVAC field,
I will tell you that the demographics in Florida. I'm on the East Coast, right? I'm in Jupiter.
right,
The demographics in Florida have changed dramatically as started with COVID, right? When people started to come down. So I laugh because I go back to New York and people break my balls all the time about living in Florida and all it's all old people and they're all dying. I go, you keep thinking that because it's not the way it is at all. You come to Jupiter, you come to West Palm Beach is exploding. They are building like crazy in West Palm Beach, and there's all these young people that are coming down. They're getting out. They're coming other places. There's a whole life down there that's all very young. And the same is happening up and down the coastline. At least from here down, from Palm Beach, say North Palm Beach, all the way down to Miami for sure. Um, so it's a
just
very
like
it's a very dynamic place. Look, is it New York City? No, but it's got a life of its own and it's got a personality of its own. And I got to tell you something, life isn't so bad down here.
yeah, no, I'd like to give it a whirl, but it's one of those. I still don't think I'm ever going to remove my foothold from New York.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. And listen, and I hear you. And my wife would love to go back to New York sometime. And quite honestly, depending on how it plays out, I wouldn't mind going back and having a place in New York City at some point. But I'm not doing it yet. I want to see how this whole thing plays out.
right, yeah, there's a
It
war
is
going
it
on.
is an exciting place. We've got family up there. My one of my daughters lives up there. All that stuff. But we'll see. At the
Yeah,
moment, though, I got no interest. Zero.
right. No, and that's something that excites me about the real estate market. And that's why I just like it because I'm in and out of it all day long. I'm fixing things. I'm looking at how the market's changing, especially with how the internet works. You can buy a place and Airbnb it,
Yeah.
and then you can just book yourself the spot in the Airbnb, and then you can have your own little circuit.
Yeah, but you can't do that in New York City anymore, right? They outlawed Airbnbs in New York
Oh,
City.
did they? Okay,
Yeah,
of course they did.
yeah, they outlawed them because first of all, they were getting all kinds of pressure from the hotel industry, right? And they were getting pressure from the condominiums and the cooperatives. They were
Don't you
all
love free markets?
Yeah, because there were especially in co-ops where you have to go through, you have to be approved, and you have to go and audition in front of the board and all that shit. And now you want to Airbnb your apartment, so now you got strangers coming in and out of the building every other week, and they said no, 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 not happening. And so you can't do an Airbnb anymore. I mean, there are people that do it very, very quietly, but if the city catches you, they're gonna hit you with a big fine,
Right. That
right?
makes it cost prohibitive. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's
it'll be interesting. But yes, in other parts of the country, you can certainly do that.
right.
Uh,
Well, you do it in Florida, but the downside with Florida is there's a lot of HOAs down there. And a lot of those
there are a
HOAs
lot of
don't.
HOAs. Yeah, no, there are a lot of HOAs. Partly because I guess a lot of them are gated communities, right? And so therefore, they're all very confined and controlled, and they maintain everything. And
Right.
they want everything to look the same. They don't want it to be
Sure. They don't
this
want
house.
my volatility going into your stable
Correct.
account, right?
Correct.
You
They don't want
you
my
took an investment in something stable
Right.
and
My yard and my lawn and my grass is perfect, and then the house next door to me, they're not watering the grass. The bushes are half dead. The ceiling, the roof needs to be replaced. It looks like a dump. They don't want that, right? So
right.
they want uniformity. They want
That's why
everybody
they moved out of New York.
100%. So that is an issue, because some people don't like the fact that they have HOAs, but I don't actually think it's a problem. The only problem that becomes a problem is when you get somebody on the HOA board that becomes impossible to deal with, because a lot of these
Right.
people suddenly they feel powerful, and then
Yeah.
they become impossible to deal with, and that screws up the whole thing. But for the most part, I don't mind it. I live in a condo association. We have an HOA board, but the place is maintained. I don't have to worry about it. The buildings are painted, the lawn is cut, the bushes are trimmed, the trash is picked up, the place is swept clean. You know what I mean? It's very lovely.
Right. And one of the things I brought up to the missus is a thought for just even moving, right? Relocating. Which is a huge topic nowadays because nobody ever talks about relocating. They're just, hey, my dad was born in this town. I've got to,
Right.
stay in this town, and people don't seem to understand that they should move where the opportunity is and move where they can survive and sustain themselves.
Correct.
Um, but one of my biggest issues was, hey, what do you do about um, I was telling her, I was like, like we discussed, everything, reaches equilibrium. So all you have Florida's getting flooded. It's a red state. It's getting flooded with people just leaving. You're not, you can't regulate how many people that are blue and red. So you get a big, now all of a sudden Florida becomes a purple state. But
Well, it's funny because from Palm Beach down to Miami, it's turned blue because there were a lot of New Yorkers that came down, and that segment of Florida has turned blue, but the rest of the state is red, very red. Um,
gotcha.
and so it's not purple yet. But that is also one of the things too. Don't come here if you're going to come here and bring your politics. Like we're not going to be a blue state.
Right, right. Yeah. And and it's also one of those things though, if I don't move because I'm afraid of something, what's the old adage? Scared money don't make money.
Yeah,
So if you're always scared of something, then you're scared of everything, and that's kind of the.
yeah,
So sometimes you got to take risks, but obviously, it depends on where you are in the life cycle, right? So like,
yeah.
I
It
should be
depends.
taking more risks than you. You're gonna
That's
you're gonna sign right up for the HOA.
100%, 100%. But it makes it all very interesting. I'll tell you. I've been here for 7 years already. It's hard to believe that 7 years has gone by that fast. Um, but it's funny. We've made lots of new friends. We've got a social life down here. They're not the same friends we had in New York. They're different. They're new friends. They're new people. They're new experiences. They're people from other parts of the country. So, I have absolutely no issue with it all. And I'm the chief market strategist at this wealth management firm. I'm happy where I'm at. I represent the firm. I do a lot of television. I do a lot of public speaking and podcast. I host a podcast on the Yahoo Finance channel. So I got a lot going on. So I'm busy. I enjoy that. I enjoy the markets. I enjoy talking about them. I enjoy talking about helping people, design and build long-term portfolios, right? I'm not a day trader. I never was a day trader. No, go knock yourself out if you want to be a day trader. But if you want to talk about putting a plan together, I'm right there with you.
Right, Kenny Polcari,
There it is.
Slatestone Wealth. So yeah, no, Man, I'm excited for the future. You know what I mean. I'm not sitting here like at the edge of my chair just waiting to bolt from New York, but you know, I like to sit back and watch. I like you. I've learned I learned my lesson. I'm not cut out to be a day trader. I
Yeah,
invest in something and I'll lose my
that's
shit.
right. That's right. And so, look, a lot unless you're really committed and you're sitting in front of your computer all day long, because you can if you want to be a day trader, but you want to walk away from your computer and go do a million things, come back 5 hours later, you're running a risk. Because the
You're running a
market
big
can
risk.
change on a dime, and the speed at with the swiftness at which it can change because of the technology can really cut you bad, right? And then
Right.
these people now trading, they think they can trade levered ETFs, which aren't really meant to be investments. Those are meant to be you use them strategically, very short term in nature. If you're going to buy like a triple levered short or a triple levered long, it's not something you buy and hold. It's something you buy. It's a very tight period of time. You have a view over the next week, or now you have this view that the Fed's going to come out tomorrow, and they're going to cut rates, but they're going to lean hawkish, and the market's going to trade back a little bit. So you might want to go long the SPSX, which is getting short the market.
Right.
Market trades lower, that actually rises in value, but it's triple levered. So if the market doesn't do what you think it's going to do, and the market rises in value, you're going to get kicked in the guts, because that will lose money faster because it's triple levered, right?
Right. Right. Right.
Same way it'll gain money faster because it's triple levered. It will lose money faster because it's triple
Highly
levered.
volatile.
Right. And so people they need to make sure they understand what they're trading and how to use them, because there are very specific reasons on why you would use something like that.
There's a lot of people out there too that are not don't have yours or my best interest at heart either. What's the um there's those guys out there that are just willing to sell ketchup popsicles to a lady in white gloves. And they're just they don't care the consequences. Their goal is to sell you that popsicle. And there's
Right.
what was that, Blue Streak?
Blue
I think it
streak, I
was.
think. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. All right, listen, pal, it's 6 o'clock.
All right, buddy.
What else? What else did you want to talk about that we didn't talk about?
You got any you're well, I just want to make a mention out there to all my viewers that, if you're looking for great dishes for the Feast of the Seven Fishes, you got to check out Kenny Polcari on Substack. He does a delicious meal at the end of or a dish at the end of every one of his posts. It's not every morning as much as you'd like it to be.
Well, it is in every note that I write, but I don't necessarily write the note every morning. If I'm traveling, I won't write the note, right? Because it's a free note, so it's not like anyone's paying me for it. But I do write this daily market commentary note, right? And I bring my 40 years of institutional experience that I spent on the floor of the exchange, and I bring it to the masses, and I talk about what's happening. I talk about what's important, not important, and then at the end of the day, I feed you. Now it's Christmas time, right? It's December, so in my household, in an Italian household, Christmas Eve is the greatest night of the year, right? We do the Feast of the Seven Fishes. And so we make 7 different fish dishes for dinner on Christmas Eve. And so today I gave you recipe number 6, and tomorrow's recipe number 7. So
So
you can go
if
back
you
and check
want
them
those
all.
recipes, you got to follow Kenny Polcari on Substack, and we just got to get you more friends down in Florida, Kenny, because I think
Yeah.
you mentioned that you don't make the full 7 meals on. You
Because when I lived in New York, it was the whole family was around. So on Christmas Eve there would be 50 or 60 people at my house, and so you would make it. Now I'm down here, so there's not my kids come down, but there's only 8 or 10 of us depending on the night. So I won't make all 7. I'll end up making 3 or 4 of the 7, because who's going to eat all that fish? There's only 8 of us, right?
Oh, right.
If there
That's
were 50 of us, everyone ate it.
I got a family of 6. In just
But
the
come
just
on
in the
down,
household.
come on down. Do
I
you
was
like
just saying.
fish?
I love fish.
There
Yeah,
you go.
I think the missus she holds away from it, but the rest of the kids love it. So it's one of those. We'll
Yes, but
bring.
it's lobsters, it's stuffed calamari's, it's shrimp, it's scallops, it's filet of sole, it's
Yeah,
uh, it's salmon, right?
yeah. So we just got to get more. We just got to get you to get more friends that come visit you on Christmas, so you can get the full ante
The
again.
full experience.
That's right. All right, Kenny. Well, let's try to reconvene. Uh, you want to shoot for April again?
Yeah,
This
yeah.
past year we did it on my birthday, so maybe
Mark
we'll.
it down on your calendar, and then just hit me up a couple of weeks at a time, and we'll put another one on the calendar.
Sounds good, Kenny. I
All right,
appreciate it, buddy.
listen,
I'm sure we'll be in touch.
I will talk to you. Have a great Christmas, a happy New Year. Be well, be safe, stay warm,
Oh, I'm gonna try.
right? And take good care.
All right, buddy.
Bye bye.
Thanks.
Yep, bye.